My daughter-in-law, Natalie, watched me sink into 12 feet of dark water. She thought I was dying. That $16 million was finally hers. What she whispered as I went under still freezes my blood. If the old man drowns, Connor never has to know what I did. But Natalie made two fatal mistakes that night. First, she assumed I still couldn't swim after my accident 2 years ago. Wrong. I'd spent 18 secret months learning to swim like my life depended on it. Because, apparently, it did. Second mistake. She never noticed the security cameras I'd installed around my lake. 4 angles, high-definition cloud storage. Every second of her attempted murder was recorded in perfect detail. This is how I turned the tables on a killer. 2 years ago, I almost died in that very same lake. It was July 4th, 2022. A family fishing trip. My wife, Grace, had passed 3 months earlier, and my son, Connor, thought getting everyone together would help. Connor, Natalie, and me. 3 generations trying to pretend we were still a family. I'd never been much of a swimmer. Grace always handled the water activities while I stayed on shore with the fishing gear. That day, I was trying to untangle a line that had caught on something underwater. I leaned too far over the dock, lost my balance. The water was 12 feet deep. When I hit, my left leg struck a submerged rock. Pain shot through my ankle like electricity. I went under, panicked, thrashed around like a drowning animal, which is exactly what I was. Connor pulled me out. Riverside Hospital, emergency room, a sprained ankle, a mild concussion, and a deep fear of water I'd never had before. But here's what really happened that day, what I didn't realize until much later. Natalie watched me nearly drown, and she was taking notes. Over the next few months, she'd bring it up constantly. "Remember when Dad almost drowned?" she'd say to Connor. "Thank God you were there. He can't swim at all, can he?" She'd suggest family activities near water, then watch me decline. Pool parties, lake trips, beach vacations. Each time I said no, I could see her filing it away. The old man is afraid of water. The old man is weak. Connor was too busy with his real estate business to notice his wife's obsession with my limitations. Sales meetings, property showings, client dinners. He'd come home exhausted, and Natalie would fill his head with concerns about his fragile father. "He's getting so frail," she'd tell him. "What if something happens when we're not around?" What Connor didn't know was that Natalie had been researching my finances, my insurance policies, my will. $16.2 million from my 40-year career in insurance adjusting, plus the lakefront property, plus Grace's life insurance settlement. All of it going to Connor when I died. And Connor was married to Natalie. She started suggesting I should update my legal documents after Grace's death. Helpful suggestions about power of attorney, about making sure Connor could take care of everything if my health declined. I played along. Let her think I was the helpless widower she wanted me to be. Because here's the thing about spending 4 decades investigating insurance fraud. You learn to recognize when someone's building a case, and Natalie was building a case for my accidental death. The drowning incident had given her the perfect scenario. The old man who can't swim, the deep lake behind his house, the isolated property where anything could happen. She started walking the perimeter of my land, always with her phone, always taking pictures. For insurance purposes, she'd say, in case something happens to the property. What she was really doing was mapping out sight lines, checking for neighbors who might see anything, timing how long it took to walk from the house to the lake. Connor never questioned any of it. His wife was just being responsible. But I was watching too. And what I saw was a woman who talked about my death a little too comfortably, who asked too many questions about my evening walks, who seemed very interested in when I was alone. 6 months after the drowning accident, I made a decision that would save my life. I was going to learn how to swim. The thing about insurance fraud investigations is that you learn to think like a criminal. You have to understand their timeline, their pressure points, their trigger moments. Natalie was running out of time, and I could see it in her spending. Connor had no idea his wife was drowning in debt. $89,000 on credit cards, designer handbags, spa treatments, her failed lifestyle blog that burned through money faster than she could borrow it. I knew because I still had contacts at credit reporting agencies. When someone's planning to inherit your money, it's wise to check their financial pressure. Every month, Natalie's situation got worse. minimum payments on 8 different cards, a personal loan she'd taken out without telling Connor, late notices piling up in her car glove compartment. Yes, I looked. The mathematics were simple. She needed me dead before Connor discovered her debt, before the credit cards were maxed out, before her house of lies collapsed. That's when the accidents started. First, it was the loose railing on my front steps, happened to give out when I was carrying groceries. Natalie was there immediately, so concerned, so helpful. "Dad, you could have broken your neck. We need to get you better safety equipment." Then the carbon monoxide detector in my bedroom mysteriously stopped working. "Old batteries," Natalie explained when she'd discovered it during one of her helpful visits. "Good thing I was checking on you so regularly." The pattern was building. Create dangerous situations, then position herself as the caring daughter-in-law who was always looking out for poor, vulnerable Edward. But the closest call was the medication mix-up. I take blood pressure medication, have for 10 years. Same prescription, same pharmacy, same routine. Except one week, my pills looked different. Smaller, wrong color. I almost took them. Almost swallowed whatever Natalie had substituted in that bottle. Instead, I drove to the pharmacy, had them test the pills. Blood thinners, 10 times my normal dose. Enough to cause internal bleeding if I'd taken them for a week. "Computer error," the pharmacist said. "Sometimes the systems get crossed." But I knew better. Someone with access to my house had switched those pills. Someone who knew my routines, my medication schedule, my doctor's name. Someone who'd been very interested in what medications I was taking. That night, I made 2 phone calls. One to Riverside Community Center about adult swimming lessons. One to Fortress Security about installing cameras around my property. If Natalie wanted to play the long game, I'd give her one, but I'd be ready. The swimming lessons started January 8, 2023. Senior hours at the community center, 2 to 3 p.m., when Connor was at work and Natalie was busy with her social media posting. Coach Betty Rodriguez was 62, patient, and didn't ask questions about why a grown man suddenly wanted to learn to swim. "Better late than never," she said. "Water safety is important at any age." 3 times a week I drove to the community center. I was terrible at first. The water felt alien, suffocating. My old fear of drowning resurfaced with every stroke, but I pushed through it. I wasn't learning to swim for leisure. I was learning to survive. Meanwhile, Natalie's attempts grew bolder. She'd accidentally leave a garden hose running near my back steps, creating a slick patch. She'd suggest I prune the tall branches near the lake, knowing my balance issues. Each time, I'd find a reason to avoid the accident, always with a plausible excuse. I was building my own case, collecting evidence. The security cameras were discreet, motion-activated, and uploaded directly to a secure cloud server. I tested them rigorously, ensuring they captured every inch of the property, especially the dock and the path leading to the lake. One afternoon, Natalie came over for coffee.
"Edward,"
she started, her voice laced with false concern. "I'm worried about Connor. His business, it's not doing as well as he lets on." This was new. She was shifting her strategy.
"What do you mean?"
I asked, feigning ignorance.
"The market is tough."
"He's under a lot of pressure. And with your health, well, you know." Her eyes flickered to my walking stick, a prop I used to reinforce her perception of my frailty. "What about my health?" "Just that, if anything were to happen to you, Connor would inherit, and that would solve all his problems." I kept my phone recording in my pocket. "Connor's a smart man. He can handle his own business." "You don't understand the pressure he's under," she insisted. "His inheritance is the only thing that's going to save this family." There it was, direct, unambiguous, recorded on my phone. "My death isn't going to solve Connor's business problems." "Your death? Who said anything about death?" But her eyes said everything. This wasn't about business loans or credit cards. This was about $16 million, and she was tired of waiting. "Connor needs security," she continued. "He needs to know his future is protected. Connor has a college education and a career. His future is what he makes of it. You don't understand the pressures he's facing. The competition, the market changes, the debt." "What debt?" I pressed. She caught herself. Connor didn't know about her personal debt. "Business debt, Operating expenses, the normal pressures of entrepreneurship. Connor never mentioned business debt because he doesn't want to worry you. He's protecting you from the stress. The way you're protecting him from your credit card bills? Her face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. 91,000. 8 credit cards. 2 personal loans. A foreclosure notice you've been hiding. How do you know that? I know a lot of things, Natalie. I know your blog generates no revenue. I know your consulting business doesn't exist. I know you've been lying to Connor about money for 2 years. She stood up, coffee cup trembling in her hands. You've been spying on me. I've been protecting my family from fraud. Fraud? I'm trying to help Connor succeed. By bankrupting him behind his back? By securing his inheritance before you waste it on medical bills and nursing homes? Another direct admission. Another recording. My money isn't Connor's money, I said. It will be when you're dead. Maybe, maybe not. Something shifted in her expression. Cold calculation. What does that mean? It means my will might not be what you think it is. Connor's your only heir. Connor's my only child. That doesn't guarantee inheritance. You can't disinherit him. He's family. I can do whatever I want with my money. She sat down the coffee cup with too much force. Coffee splashed across my table. Edward, Connor loves you. He's been taking care of you since Grace died. He deserves that inheritance. Connor's been busy with his business since Grace died. You're the one who's been taking care of me. That's right. I have been. And I deserve some recognition for that. What kind of recognition? Financial security. Protection for Connor's future. Assurance that this family will be taken care of after I'm dead. After you're gone? Yes. When do you think that will be? She stared at me for a long moment. I think that's up to God. God and evening walks by dangerous lakes. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know you've been watching me. I know you've been timing my walks. I know you've been mapping my routines. I watch because I care. Because you're alone out there. Alone is dangerous, isn't it? Especially near water. Yes, it is. Especially for someone who can't swim. Especially for someone who nearly drowned. What if I learned to swim at your age with your injuries? Edward, that's impossible. Why impossible? Because you're 67 years old. Because you have balance issues. Because you panic in water. What if I didn't panic? You would panic. You did panic. Last time nearly killed you. Last time was different. No, Edward. Last time showed everyone who you really are. Weak, vulnerable, helpless in water. And that's how you think of me. Helpless. I think of you as someone who needs protection. From what? From accidents? From bad decisions? From situations you can't handle? Like walking near the lake. Like walking anywhere alone. She was building her case, creating the narrative that would justify my death. The helpless old man who wandered too close to dangerous water despite warnings from his caring daughter-in-law. Maybe I should stop the evening walks, I said. Maybe you should. Or maybe I should bring protection. What kind of protection? Company. Witnesses. Security cameras. Her expression froze. Security cameras? For safety. In case something happens. Where would you put cameras? Around the property. Near the lake. Places where accidents might happen. That seems unnecessary. Does it? You just told me walking alone is dangerous. Dangerous because you might fall. Not because someone might hurt you. How do you know someone won't hurt me? Because who would want to hurt you? Someone who needs $16 million. We stared at each other across my kitchen table. Everything unsaid, everything understood. I should go, she said. You should. At the door, she turned back. Edward, I hope you'll reconsider those cameras. Why? Because they might capture something you don't want people to see. Like what? Like an old man making poor decisions near dangerous water. After she left, I sat in my kitchen listening to the recording of our conversation. 43 minutes of Natalie building a case for my death. That night, I called Coach Betty and scheduled daily swimming practice for the next month, because I knew exactly when Natalie was going to try to kill me. September 18th, 6:30 p.m. The day Connor was scheduled to return from his business trip the following morning. I knew it would be tonight, because Natalie was running out of time. Connor would be home tomorrow, and her window for acting alone would close. I'd been preparing for this moment for 8 months. 142 swimming lessons, 18 months of cardiovascular conditioning, 4 security cameras positioned perfectly to capture every angle of the lake. Most importantly, I told 3 people about my evening walk routine: Detective Lisa Brennan, my swimming coach Betty, and my lawyer. I even left a note on my kitchen counter, clearly visible, stating I was going for my usual evening walk by the lake. This wasn't just about catching her, it was about ensuring I survived. At 6:25 p.m., I walked out my back door, cane in hand, moving slowly toward the lake. The sun was setting, casting long shadows. I could feel her presence before I saw her. She emerged from the trees, a dark silhouette against the fading light. "Edward, what are you doing out here? It's getting dark." Her voice was a practiced blend of concern and irritation. "Just enjoying the evening air, Natalie. A man's allowed to walk on his own property, isn't he? It's not safe, Edward. You know that. What if you fall?" Then I fall. I reached the edge of the dock, feigning a slight wobble. "I'm not as young as I used to be." "Exactly," she said, moving closer. "You need to be more careful." I turned my back to her, looking out at the water, giving her the perfect opening. "It's a beautiful night, isn't it? So peaceful." I heard her footsteps behind me, then felt the sudden violent shove. I tumbled forward, hitting the cold water with a splash. The shock was immediate, but this time, it wasn't panic. It was a surge of adrenaline. I let myself sink for a moment, just long enough for her to believe her plan was working. I heard her voice, a triumphant whisper carried on the evening breeze. "If the old man drowns, $16 million is ours." Then, I swam. I pushed off the bottom, strong and deliberate, surfacing a good 20 feet from the dock. Natalie was still standing there, staring at the spot where I'd gone in, a look of grim satisfaction on her face. When she saw me, her jaw dropped. Her eyes widened in disbelief, then horror. You can swim?" she stammered. "Surprise," I said, treading water. "I've been practicing." I swam slowly to shore, pulling myself out of the water, soaked but victorious. "And speaking of surprises, Natalie, I think you'll be interested in what else I've been practicing." I pointed to the discreet dome cameras mounted on the trees, their red indicator lights blinking. High definition, cloud storage, every angle. Her face went from white to a mottled red. You set me up. You set yourself up, Natalie. I just made sure there were witnesses." Just then, a patrol car pulled into my driveway, lights flashing. Detective Brennan stepped out, followed by 2 uniformed officers. "Edward, are you all right?" she called out. "Never better, Detective," I replied, a cold smile on my face. "Just had a little swim." Natalie tried to bolt, but an officer quickly intercepted her. "Ma'am, we need to ask you a few questions." Natalie was taken to the station. Connor arrived home an hour later, frantic. He'd received a call from Detective Brennan, a vague message about an incident at my house. He found me wrapped in a blanket, sipping hot tea, while the police secured the scene. "Dad, what happened? Natalie said you drowned." "She did see me go into the lake, son. But I swam out." "You can swim?" he asked, utterly bewildered. "I've been learning for 18 months. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted to surprise you." Detective Brennan stepped in. "Mr. Mitchell, your wife pushed your father into the water, expecting him to die. We have video evidence." Connor looked between us, confused. "What? That's insane." "It's documented, Connor. 4 security cameras captured the entire incident. They showed him the footage. Natalie stalking through the trees, the approach, the conversation, the push. Connor watched his wife commit attempted murder on his father. When the video ended, Connor sat in silence for 5 minutes. Finally, he spoke. "She tried to kill you." "Yes." "For the inheritance?" "Yes." "How much debt is she in?" 91,000 taus. "I had no idea. She's been hiding it for 2 years." Connor looked out the window toward his house, where police cars were taking his wife away in handcuffs. "Dad, I'm so sorry. You have nothing to apologize for. I should have known. I should have paid more attention. Should have seen the signs. The signs were hidden from you deliberately. What happens now?" "Now we start over." 6 months later, Natalie was convicted of attempted murder in the 1st degree. The jury deliberated for 43 minutes. Security footage of someone pushing an elderly man into deep water while saying, "16 million is ours," doesn't leave much room for reasonable doubt. She got 15 years, no possibility of parole for 7. Connor divorced her while she was awaiting trial, paid off her debts with his own business assets, then rebuilt his real estate company from scratch. We're closer now than we've been since Grace died. Not because we bonded over his wife trying to murder me. That's not the kind of foundation you want for a relationship. We're closer because we both learned the difference between family and proximity. Natalie lived in our house, ate at our table, called me dad for 5 years, but she was never family. Family doesn't calculate your death for financial benefit. Connor comes by twice a week now, not from guilt or obligation, but because he wants to. We work on the property together, fix things that need fixing, talk about business and life and what comes next. I still swim every day, not because I'm afraid of drowning, but because I like who I became when I refused to stay helpless. Coach Betty retired from teaching, but we swim laps together 3 mornings a week. She jokes that I'm her best success story. Most people learn to swim for fun. You learn to swim to survive attempted murder. The lake isn't frightening anymore. It's just water. Deep water. Yes, dangerous water if you can't handle it. But not mysterious. Not threatening. Just water. I've thought about moving, selling the property, starting fresh somewhere, without memories of that night. But this is my home. Grace and I built our life here. I'm not giving that up because someone else chose violence. Instead, I'm staying, swimming, living, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. Because here's what I learned from 18 months in a community center pool. The strongest people aren't the ones who never face danger. They're the ones who prepare for it.